Hi there YouTube, This Watch, That Watch with Mike. We're here today talking about the Rolex Certified Pre-Owned program that was launched last week. So a quick recap, the Certified Pre-Owned program was launched by Rolex last week, and the core of the program is they basically give you a hand tag and a 2-year warranty and a nice beige pouch when you buy a watch that has been certified from them as a pre-owned certified Rolex model. They do this for models that are more than 3 years old and up to 25 years old. That's the version. So for today, we're going to talk about what this means for Rolex, what this means for the ADs, what this means for customers, the two types of customers, and what this means for the gray market dealers and competitors. Before we get into it, like and subscribe. I really hope you enjoy my content, and it means a ton that you do like and subscribe. So please do so if you continue to enjoy, especially this content, which is a little bit different from the stuff that I usually do. What does this mean for the ADs? I want to start there. The ADs, I think every year they meet with Rolex and they, humbly go to Rolex and say, thank you so much for the opportunity to be in your network and being allowed to sell your watches. We really appreciate it, and we will never ever leave you because there's too much money in this. But we're turning too many customers away. It's been far too many years where customers have been sent out the door, and there's a couple of problems with that. Number one is we could sell them a watch which we could make money on, which we're not making money on, and you're not making money on it either because they're going out and buying something secondhand. We convince some to buy an Omega, which is not helping you either, but for the most part they leave and then they go to the gray market. Nobody wins in that. Second piece is, no matter what we do, even if they get it in the secondary market, more and more people are starting to dislike us, and more people are starting to dislike you, Rolex. So you need to do something about this because it's hurting your brand. It's just not a good situation. You have to fix this. So please produce more watches. And we heard that you have a factory up and running, or almost up and running. So, thank you for that. But if you could come up with some mechanism for us to make even more sales and keep our customers in the store for a longer time, that would be fabulous. And Rolex were like, cool, make a certified pre-owned program. You pay for the privilege of getting a watch certified, and then you can sell it at whatever price you want. This is fabulous news for the ADs. The ADs now have an opportunity to take a customer and say, okay, we don't have the new model, but you don't have to leave our store and go to a gray market dealer. We have the model over here. And I've been in retail for years enough to know that as long as you have an option for a person when they're in the store, they will leave happy. If you tell them we're sold out of this television or this coffee machine or this phone, they will be angry when they leave the store. But if you sell them something else and you say, yes, this has a different price and so on and so forth, they're going to be happy. And they're going to stay in network. So that's a good thing. That's going to make more happy customers for the ADs, and that's also going to help the Rolex brand at the end of the day, because the experience is, I got my watch. The mind doesn't remember that you pay 25% more or 35 or 70% more. The mind just knows, I went in the AD, I wanted the Daytona, and I left with a Daytona potentially. Second thing is, they have an edge now against the gray market dealers. They're not going to outcompete the gray market dealers, but they have a value proposition that gray market dealers don't have. We have certified pre-owned. Are you sure you want to buy that, from the gray market? And yeah, it's true, it's cheaper, but there's a reason it's cheaper. It's you don't know who owned it before, and you don't know about the quality, and you don't know about the workmanship of the servicing centers at these unauthorized dealers. You don't know how good they are checking whether or not this is Rolex. You don't know. They probably don't do the whole servicing and the whole check as well as Rolex do, because Rolex know what they're doing. It's their watches. You can trust Rolex. Can you trust them? Whether or not this conversation is true doesn't matter. That's the experience and that's the story they're going to be telling. And some customers will like that story. They will believe it. And that's the same people that go into Ferrari and sell their Ferrari through a certified pre-owned instead of through a second-hand used car dealer. They are happy to get it at a lower price to stay in network, which is the second part, because, hey, if you sell it to us, back to us, and you buy through the certified pre-owned program, you're going to stay in network, and then one day we'll get you that brand new Daytona at list price, right? So you're not waiting 5 years on the waiting list. You have something in the meantime. So the ADs have a value prop which is worth something to some customers. They're staying in the store and getting the product they want, and they have a value proposition that's worth selling to some people. So ADs, happy days, and they get to price it whatever they want. Now there's Rolex. Rolex, obviously this is a good idea because, well, for them, have a strategy department and made up the idea. So of course it's a good idea as far as they're concerned. But they're going to make more money doing the exact same thing that they did before. Now, what do I mean? Rolex, when they service a watch, they have, you know, the Rolex version. You send it in and say, please don't polish it. They're going to polish it. They always go through the same steps. And they make sure when you go through service, it costs a certain price and it comes back, you know, in immaculate condition. What exactly do you think is the process for certified pre-owned that is different from a normal service? Because Rolex is going to check if it's original in both cases. They're going to make sure that everything works. They're going to go through all the cleaning processes. The only difference is the stamp, the hand tag, the booklet, and the beige box. That's it. That's the extra. It's the same process. I have no doubt about that. And they are taking a premium from the ADs. $700, whatever, dollars or something for a service. $1,500 for CPO. Same process, but you get the hang tag. They're going to make a bucket of money, and it's repeat buckets. There's nothing that says that you can't have certified pre-owned, which you can be sold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Down the road, Rolex can potentially say, we will only do CPO once or twice, and once it's been twice, then we want nothing to do with this watch. Rolex already, I'm not sure where it is, but maybe it's 25 years back, and this is not the CPO, but at some point they basically say, we want nothing to do with these old watches. They don't tell you whether it's original or not, and they just don't want to touch them. And that could potentially be a direction they could take this if they wanted to, and just basically take models out of servicing rotation, which is also something that could impact the grey market over time, because there will be models that will just not show up at Rolex, like we want nothing to do with this unless it has been CPO'd within the last 5 years. It's nothing they've sent out. It's just, you know, it's a potential strategy direction if you want to, because over time in the market, you're going to have green box Rolexes that are used, and you're going to have CPO box, grey box or beige box Rolexes. So they will be clearly differentiated and visibly distinct in the market. And so Rolex will also have more influence. They don't have control over the second-hand market, but they'll definitely have influence over pricing, and they'll also have influence over stock and the way that stock moves and how long it gets to be in official Rolex rotation. So at the end of the day, everybody's happy for Rolex as well, because they get to sell more watches, they get to make more money through the certification process, and they make more customers happy. And you know, it's not just a stopgap. I think it's come to stay, but it's going to keep people happy for a longer time because they're getting their watches. And yeah, well, they were getting the watches before through grey dealers. Rolex doesn't get credit for watches sold through grey dealers. They get credit for watches sold through CPO. Then we have the customers, and there's two customers. There's the people who sell and the people who buy. If we look at the people who sell, right now, no matter who you are, if you want to sell your watch, you can sell it yourself and you can go to a grey market dealer. You can go to an AD as well, but basically it's one product. Now you have a new product at the ADs that say, we have a certification process. It goes through all these steps, you get to stay in network, and if you stay in, you know, there's a reason to go to the AD for some. And this falls down on a continuum of two types of customers, or two you know, sides. What do you call these things? Hands, ends of a scale. You've got on one hand the people who really know what they're doing, and they care what they're doing, and they're willing to do all the work, and they're deeply knowledgeable about watches, and the other people who just want to watch. Who's going to go where? The ones that know what they're doing, they're going to go to the grey market because they can get a higher price, or they can sell it themselves. And the people who don't want the hassle and just want to stay in network and want to buy a new watch every now and again and want to get rid of their old watch, they're going to like the convenience of going to the place where they originally bought their watch, sell it there, know that it's going to be hassle-free, and you're done. So from a segmentation perspective, customers have more options. It's not one amalgamous mass or homogeneous mass of customers. The individual customers can go different places because they are two distinct value propositions. Cool. Same goes for the buyers. People who know what they're doing and people who don't. Again, broadly speaking, people who know what they're doing are going to say, okay, why would I pay extra for CPO when I can get the same watch? And I know this is Rolex, so it's fantastic quality. And if a secondary grey market dealer says it's in pristine condition, they give me a 2-year warranty, I'm happy. And I know I can send it off to service for $700 or whatever the price is in your particular geography. And Rolex will service it. Or I can pay more. Why would I do that? So they're going to more clearly move towards that segment and that area and say, okay, I'm going to get a cheaper price and then get the same watch at a lower price. Fabulous, hunky-dory. Now, for the people who essentially either don't care or don't know what they're doing, and that's not a slight on them in any way whatsoever, it's just not important for them. They are going to be swayed by an AD saying, ooh, you don't want to go to the grey market, it's dangerous, it's scary, all those stories about how inconvenient it is and how little you can trust in the mood. And you have, the name you can trust, it's Rolex certified, and you get a little bag and all that kind of stuff. They will pay a premium. There are people that are willing to pay a premium for this product. And that segmentation will happen. So the people who either want to stay in network so they can build a relationship with ADs have another reason to do so and a more compelling reason to do so. And they also have the option to pay more for the convenience and the security of having a little Rolex hang tag. Cool. So as customers, you have more options. The only downside of this is that everybody is going to be paying more for used watches. And we'll get to that when we go to the grey dealers. But at the end of the day, it's just a segmentation where grey market dealers are going to be one type of customer, or grey market people who buy from grey market dealers are going to have one type of customer, and the customers who go to ADs and CPO are a different type of customer. And that segmentation is going to become more distinct. Now, as for the pricing, everybody's going to pay more, which brings me to the grey market dealers. Why? 62,500 euros for a Daytona. That was one of the prices that was listed on the internet from a Bucharest, or they wanted to sell a Daytona. An absolutely flipping ridiculous price. I don't know how the hell they came up with that when you're looking at regular models selling at $25,000-ish, and the euro is about the same as a dollar, give or take. That's mind-blowingly stupid. Having said that, Bucharest are consistently putting all their prices higher than what it looks like in the grey market. And that's because they think they can take a premium for CPO. So what does the grey market do? Right now, the market has been going down for a long time. It's crashed. It's not continuing to crash, but the discussion is, has it hit bottom? Is it leveling out, or is it slowly starting to climb again? The Daytonas are around 25,000-ish. 20, 25, 26, stuff like that. So what do you do as a grey market dealer? Well, you definitely want to look and see if the CPO stock is moving. Because if it's moving, then it can be sold at that price. And then the question for you as a grey market dealer is, how close to that price can I get when I don't have the same product? And then you say, well, it's a Daytona for a Daytona. No, it's not. It's a Daytona with a CPO for a Daytona without CPO. And what do you want to do as a grey dealer is, okay, either we have the option of saying, okay, we as grey market dealers need to develop a product in addition to selling the watch, which is comparable to CPO. You can never get the same, because you can never compete directly with Rolex certified. But you can say, okay, we're going to give people 4 years warranty, or 5 or 6 or 7, or we're going to give an extra service, or blah, 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 blah. And that can justify a higher price. Or we can say, we're just going to do what we usually do. We give the usual warranty, the usual guarantee. We have our in-house thing, and we can service it through Rolex. But we're going to compete on price against CPO. But there's no reason to lie 25% below CPO if you only have to lie 16% below CPO, or 11. So they're going to watch and see, is that CPO stock moving? And if it is, then how close can we get to that? How far can we push it, and how close can we get? So all things being equal, I think in the short term, Bucharest and all the ADs are going to learn and figure out, can we actually sell a Daytona for 62,500? And if they can, fine. If they can't, they will have to go down to 61.5 or 59 or 58 or whatever. And the grey market dealers will have to say, okay, can I push it up? Can I push mine from 25 to 28 now, 28 to 29, 29 to 30? And slowly over time, you'll find that the two markets will approach each other, and then they'll find a natural, I'm going to say, equilibrium. So they're going to be somewhere sort of relatively stable between each other. And that's not going to be stable on every, on a flat rate across all models. You might say, okay, for Daytonas, we're going to be like this because it's so attractive that CPO maybe doesn't have a lot of value. But for a Datejust 31 millimeter Jubilee bracelet with diamond indices, the wife watch, the difference is maybe going to be this much. But overall, that's also going to be relative to MSRP, because the Datejust Jubilee is probably not the one that's lowest in stock and the hardest to get a hold of still. So that's going to be closer to MSRP anyway. So you're going to have a lot of pricing things that are going on there all along the while. But over time, it's going to hit. And the incentive for grey market dealers is to get as close to that as possible and see how can we build a value proposition that gets us as close to the CPO number without hitting the CPO number. Because you cannot compete, like I said, directly with the CPO number because you don't have the hang tag. So that's, that's fine for them. They're still going to be there. They're still going to sell their watches. Their customer base is going to become more distinct, like I said, both in terms of who their sellers are and who the buyers are. And they're going to have another price point to look at the CPO price point. And then they have to consider, like I said, the option of differentiating on the product, saying the warranties and all that kind of stuff, or saying, okay, we're competing on our current product and it's just a question of price and convenience. So what's not to like? Then you have Omega and IWC and all the competitors. What are they doing? I think there are quite a few strategy meetings right now where they're at Omega and all the others, where they're saying, okay, should we be doing this? Should we be doing a CPO program as well? And as far as I'm concerned, I think there's two things they have to take into account. Number one is they are not Rolex. It's like, duh. The thing is, the reason this is also being made for not solely, but is you can't get a Rolex new, but you can stay in store and then you can get a certified pre-owned and it's safe and secure and you'll pay a little bit more. How many Omega models sell for more on the secondary market? Yes, it's the Omega Speedmaster Snoopy Moon Landing Edition or the Ultraman or the White Snoopy or whatever. But it's not the Seamaster in general, it's not the Equiterra, it's not the Railmaster, it's not the Planet Ocean, it's not the Constellation. Pretty much if you walk into Omega, you can get any watch you want. There's a couple maybe that, how you have a few weeks or a few months wait time on a specific model, but there's none of them apart from the, the special limited edition models that give you a wait list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So they just don't have that. So you're not going to walk in and you're going to have customers going into Booker and saying, I don't want the new one that's available. I want to pay more for the used one. Why would you do that? You're just going to buy the new one. So you don't need, as a customer, CPO, and also as an AD, you don't need CPO for Omega, because why would you pay a premium to Omega for a product that you don't need to sell their watches? Omega just cannot price their CPO program at the same level as Rolex, because their models in the second-hand market are not, in general, as attractive. Not the Patek Nautilus might be, but in general, Omega can't do that. So there's no compelling proposition for an AD to pay for that. So that's the one perspective they have to think about. Saying it doesn't make sense. Yet, you've got the other problem. Over time, what happens? Well, when a customer walks in and say, when I'm tired of this Rolex, can I sell it or can I get it, and in a convenient way? It's like, yeah, we had this certified pre-owned program and it's fabulous and blah, 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 blah. It's like, what if an Omega, is there also a certified pre-owned program for that? No, there's not. Why not? Is it a worse product? Why don't they certify do those models break more down? Is it too complicated? Or are they just not the same quality? And then the AD's like, oh, it's the same quality. Omega makes fantastic watches. They probably got better movement. Yeah, but why don't they have a CPO then? Why are they not certifying the pre-owned models if they're not as good quality? You see the conversation? So that's going to be an interesting thing for Omega. It's like, okay, at some point they probably will have to do this, because that's the other mechanism. The customers don't need it, but they're going to ask for it because they say, well, if the biggest competitor has it, why don't you? And that's going to be interesting to follow. If I was in the strategy department, I'd say do nothing. Sit, rotate, and just see how this plays out for a while, and then figure out whether or not there's a timing to do it. This is not a difficult decision to make once it's not, well, it's a difficult decision to make, but it's an easy decision to implement. It's just a question of calling a factory in China and saying, okay, we need to produce a couple of beige boxes instead of green or black or red, and we need to produce some warranty cards that have a different color, and by the way, we also need a hang tag in a different color. Done. After a month, the Chinese factory has all those ready, and then you can start doing certified pre-owned. No problem. Easy peasy. So it's easy to implement. You just need to figure out when to do it. I think at the end of the day, at some point, you will see the high-end brands. Everybody will have to do this at some point, but they're going to hold off doing it for now because it's just not a value prop that's going to give anybody, money in the bank for the reasons I mentioned. So that's it. Those are my thoughts. ADs, fabulous idea. Keep the customers in store and keep them happy, and also have a value prop that the grey market doesn't have. Rolex gets to make more money and also gets more influence over the supplier, which they can do something about over time. Plus, they keep customers, relatively speaking, more happy because now you are perceptual-wise walking out of the store you went into and actually getting the watch you want, or a similar watch at least. Sellers get to segment, happy days. Buyers get to segment towards their buying proposition, say what value proposition works for me. Only problem is everybody's going to be paying more. Grey market dealers are going to do fine. They're just going to have a more segmented type of customer. They just have to figure out, do we want to compete with CPO on warranty, service, and add-ons, or are we basically a base competitor working on price? You can do both. No matter what, they are going to look at CPO and say, can we raise our prices to the same? And finally, competitors, well, they're probably going to do this, but not just yet, because they don't have a value prop that actually adds value in a CPO program for most of their models. Those are my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Come back for another time, and definitely comment. Let me know what you think. Cheers.